Test, test, one, two, three. You guys have to let me know how everything sounds and looks. Here, I'm gonna be that guy. Hang on, there we go. More of a hair light. Gotta get these luscious locks in there. Sorry, I'm just checking to make sure everything is working. Yeah, you'll hear stuff in a second. All right, you guys have to let me know how everything sounds. Sorry, you're gonna get an echo in a second. I apologize. All right, got a few people on. I'm gonna probably just wait a minute, but yeah, and then we'll start recording, get into some of the madness. Yeah, let me know how mic level is, if anything needs to change. I feel like I'm a little blown out. Maybe I'm just being just a little extra, but you guys want, we'll do some ASMR. Come on. How many people have to go pee after that? I look so professional. Thanks. All right, we got 8 or 10 people in here. I'm just trying to think of where I need to start. Okay, sound is good. Cool, getting some comments already. Looks good. All right. I better record. I'm going to, just for anybody watching, I'm going to do my intro for the actual podcast in just one shot. I don't feel like editing it later, so yeah, I'm just being lazy. All right, guys, welcome back to the Piston Head podcast. On this week's episode, it's just going to be me ranting. That's it. Just going to be me yelling at the screen into the microphone for your enjoyment. We want to kind of talk about the state of drifting and where I see things going from my perspective. And yeah, so let's just get right into it. So there's two kind of main things that I want to address that have really been bugging me. And I guess I should start off with a bit of a disclosure. For those of you who don't know who I am or what I do, crank up the mic just a tad. Okay, cool. Sorry. There we go. That should be a little bit better. I just want to make sure I'm not clipping when I start yelling. That's all. So for those of you who don't know what I do for a living, I work in marketing, specifically with automotive. I'm not going to get into the brands that I work with in case, they're not happy about whatever it is I'm about to say, but, yeah, that's what I do. I'm submerged in the automotive culture on a lot of different ends. One, as a creator doing YouTube stuff and podcast stuff, although I've been dropping the ball a lot lately on that, as well as somebody who works in marketing. So I get to see what events are like on the back end. I get to see what companies spend to promote events. I also work with a lot of different automotive brands. So I get to see what their marketing is like. I get to get a very, very much a behind the scenes look of what automotive culture is like on a business end. Now, I haven't been doing this forever. I'm relatively young to it, but I came kind of into this industry from somebody who very, very much enjoyed drifting. And obviously, a lot of what I do on a day-to-day basis is based around drifting. So I kind of want to get that part out of the way. So I do have knowledge in this from a background side of things. I'm not an amazing drifter. I'm not a competitive drifter or anything like that. I'm just somebody who has been observing drifting from very much a business mindset. And I don't have a lot of stake in the game that if I say certain things, it might piss off some people. And hopefully I don't lose any clients from it, but it is what it is at this point. So the two main things that I want to talk about are how us as drifters are spreading the word about drifting, the way that we act when it comes to the general public, the way we act when it comes to drifting and business mindset, and just in general, how drifters are acting and behaving currently. The second thing that I want to talk about is the obscene issue, and this one really, really pisses me off, about how we're withholding information from people. Why are we holding anything back? Why are we, being secretive about anything when it comes to car setup, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to pricing, any of that shit? This is not the time to be secretive, to be holding back secrets. Drifting is in such a growth period that by holding back any information that you have, as long as it's not detrimental to what it is that you do, there should be absolutely no reason why you're holding back any information. So I'm gonna get to that one after, because obviously I'm already heated about it. But I'm going to get to that one after. The first thing that I want to talk about is, as drifters, as motorsports enthusiasts and things along those lines, how are we behaving? What are we doing? How are we representing the brand? What are we doing to help market ourselves and get to that point of being professional? And I'm not saying every driver has to be professional. I'm not saying fuck even a fraction of them have to be professional. If you want to be a grassroots, bang doors, drive a shitbox driver, that's fantastic. That's what I'm into. I've been around, competitive drifting at Pro 2 and pro levels, and it's a shitload of work. It's a lot of stress. There's a lot of bullshit that goes in with that. It is, in my mind, it is not worth it. It is, for me, financially, emotionally, time-wise, it is not worth it for me to pursue professional drifting. If it is for you, awesome. That's what I want. I want more professional drifters. And I will talk about the reason why I want more professional drifters here in a second. But ultimately, just the way that drifters are behaving, what we are doing. So one of the biggest gripes that I have right now is that when we go to an event, if you are gearing up to go to an event, you should be doing everything in your power to try and bring out as many people as you possibly can. There should be absolutely no reason why you're not telling coworkers about it, why you're not telling, okay, I mean, maybe don't tell your boss, because when you ask for Friday off earlier, you call in sick. That's one thing, but you should be dragging out every single person that you're comfortable spending time with to these events. Your grandmother, your mother, they should be supporting you. Even if you were at a grassroots level, I've seen more people get excited, get fanatic from coming out to a grassroots event, hanging out with some guy whose car is barely held together, than I have from guys trying to get them out to their pro events. There is no reason why you shouldn't be telling people and bringing people. If anybody knows me, I try to bring a crowd to as many events as I possibly can. I bring cousins. I bring my stepdad. I bring my kids. I try to bring as many people out to these events as I possibly can. I never stop telling people how much fucking fun drifting is. That's just me. You don't have to be exactly like me, but that is something that we need to do. So whether it's posting on your social media, posting anywhere, word of mouth, whatever, you should be supporting your local tracks. 100% you should be supporting your local tracks. If you are going to an event, you should be tagging that track in it. You should be telling people this is where you can go. This is how much shit is. These are things that are so easy to do that people are just dropping the ball on. And I mean, I would love to hear some arguments as to why you shouldn't be doing it. I'm totally receptive to that. And please, if you're watching this live, please get into the comments, leave comments. I will try and get to as many of them as I possibly can. And I know that there is a bit of a delay, and I'm sorry about that. But even if you're listening to this in a podcast format, leave comments wherever. Go back to the video, leave some comments. But there is no reason why you shouldn't be getting people out there. There are so many benefits to it. So from a track perspective, that track gains money at the gate. They get new fans, and you're also enticing more people to get into the industry. So anybody who is out there who's saying like, I don't want more drifters. Oh, it's going to take up track time and bullshit and stuff like that. That's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. And I know that because if one track is doing well with drifting, which we have seen happen time and time again, one track makes a big change and attracts a bunch of drifters and get a whole bunch of crowd out. Other tracks will allow drifting. What I do, I speak to a lot of track owners, and I have people out there that, track owners out there that don't like drifters and that have never had drifters out there. And a lot of that is like, they're like, oh, I don't see the financial return in it. Well, that is because other tracks might be struggling because they're not getting those people out. You going and driving is definitely supporting the track 100%, but they expect that. They expect the numbers that they're going to get. They know if they've sold out last time, they can expect the amount of people that they're going to get, and they can build things around that. But where they make their money are all of the additional stuff. They make the money on the extra people at the gate, the family stuff, all of these different things, all of these other sources of revenue. That is where the extra money comes into a track. That is where they make their profits, and that is where they're willing to spend money to improve the track, to increase, people going out and actually drifting. The more that we invest in these tracks, the more likely it is that more tracks are going to open up and allow drifting. And the more likely it is that those tracks are then going to improve drifting, start hosting more nights, and you will get more seat time. So this absolute bullshit that like, I don't want more people drifting because it'll take away from my drift time is fucking selfish, and it needs to stop because it's insane. It's absolutely insane. It's very shallow, one-dimensional thinking, and we need to get away from it. It needs to be, no, I want as many people out as possible. Yes, I understand. For right now, for that one weekend, you're not going to get as much seat time because your run group isn't doing, it's got too many Group C people in it. So whatever, please get over that. Take a second, step out of your own fucking dimension and realize the bigger picture here, that if we don't spread drifting more, the sport will die. At the end of the day, the sport will die. If we do not promote it in every way possible, the sport will die. It has happened on so many levels. It is happening right now with other motorsports. Things like circle track are fucking dying because they can't get fans out, because the drivers are doing nothing to promote it. They are not inviting more people out. They get the same old people. They've got their 6 crew members and shit like that, and they don't care because they think we've always been here, we always will be. Well, how often does that happen? How many companies fail because they go into that mindset? And we need to think of racing as a company. We need to think of it as a business, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. If somebody isn't making money off it, it's gone. It disappears. Nobody is interested in pumping money into something that is going to continuously lose money. So we have to think about it that way. And even if you are not in drifting for the money, if you don't think about the money, whatever, you spend the least amount of money as possible, that's fine. That is still money that is going into that ecosystem that sponsors and other companies see. And that brings profit to those racetracks, which allows them to get more drifting events. There are drift track. Do we have, like, I can get into examples. I'd rather not. I don't want to name names in any cases, but at the end of the day, the more money that we can drive into this sport, the more spectators we get, the more cars that drive, the more money that will be then reinvested back into the drivers and what it is that we're doing. It's incredibly self-serving if you think, I don't want more people because I don't want my track time taken up. It's a mindset that absolutely boggles my mind and it pisses me off to no level. So anyways, that is one part of it. On another note, when we get to the track stuff, if I can stick with that for a second, drifters have a bad reputation. I mean, the local drift track that I'm at, Shannonville, to get into a quick disclaimer on this, they have new owners. They originally didn't like drifting because it damages the shit out of the track, and it can, depending on the track, especially if there's grass runoffs and you have drivers who are not incredibly good and who are not good. Let's just go with good. Then they damage the track, and there is damage done to the track on any drifting weekend. If you blow a tire and you run it on rims, you're damaging the track. If you drop oil, if you drop coolant, if you hit the wall and break stuff, you are all damaging the track. You are costing the track money. Now, that happens with every racing series. That is part of owning a track, and I understand that. But for them to accept unnecessary damages in their minds, that is not going to make them want to bring out drivers more. They don't want more drifting then. Why would they? It's costing them more money. So that should go with our track etiquette. I mean, we should not be leaving dead tires at the track. We shouldn't be. There's no reason for it. You fit all of those tires in there when you got there. Just bring them back. And you know what? Maybe if you want a quick business idea, bring a giant ass trailer and charge people $2 or $5 or whatever to get rid of their tires, and find a place that'll take them for free. There's a lot of auto shops that just have giant bins that are willing to take a bunch of extra tires. There are scrap yards that will pay you for your tires or have a very, very low recycling fee. I mean, I'm sure you can do it. I'm sure you can make some money there. So take that idea, run with it. But regardless, we shouldn't be leaving the track pig pens with old tires and broken body parts and shit like that. I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. I mean, I'm a hypocrite. I'll say that right off the bat. I've left broken items at the track in a garbage can and said, oh, let them deal with it. But that's extra shit that they don't want to deal with. And it's wrong thinking that, like, if I put it in the garbage can, it disappears. Throw it back in your car, take it back home, and dispose of it properly. I mean, it's just little shit like that. The mindsets that we need to change to still be included at a track, to still have track owners want us to be there. These are all very, very simple things that we need to do. On another note about kind of like etiquette and behavior and shit like that, fucking leave the new guys alone a little bit. We were all new at one point in time. We all were some 16-year-old kid who just got their first car and thought we were going to do an automatic to manual transmission swap or do some crazy engine swap. And yeah, a few of us actually did. But for most of us, especially me, it was lip service. It was me just trying to be a big shot because I thought I was fucking cool because I had a car. And now as adults, most of us adults, we look at those kids and we shit on them, and we shouldn't. We absolutely shouldn't. We should not be trying to discourage anybody from the automotive market. We have so many laws and legislation and rules and everything else coming down on us. Everything is against us right now. Somebody brought it up in one of the comments earlier that obviously with all the clean drive stuff happening in California, here's the thing. Like if that goes through, if these new things were like, your race car still has to be emissions and stuff like that, there's only two things that are going to happen. Either they make it happen, and that's what we do for racing now on, which would suck. It would suck for sure. I mean, everybody loves the sound of a VQ screaming down the straight pipe, for sure. We all love that. But if it happens, the chances of it going back are slim to none. Laws like these don't just get repealed and thrown back. It might happen, and we can all hope and pray that it'll happen, but doesn't mean that it is going to happen. It's very unlikely that it will, actually. Or obviously, there are a lot of industry people that are speaking up, and we do something about it, and it doesn't happen. And then in that case, we need to realize that the chances of it happening in the future have now increased tenfold. So we need as many people on our side to fight bills and legislation and things like that. So by shitting on the new kids, by just being like, oh, that's stupid, you'll never do that, it doesn't do anybody any good. Okay, yes, you're going to talk them out of a dumb financial idea, for sure. But there are ways to do it. You can explain it to them, and yeah, they're not going to listen, and they're not going to do whatever. That's fine. But you didn't become a part of the larger problem. You attempted to communicate with them. If they don't listen, that's on fucking them. That's on them. But just by immediately shitting down people's throats the moment they propose an idea that you think is stupid or outrageous or ridiculous is not the way that any of this shit's going to grow. If you're into drifting, if you're into time attack, if you're a stance boy, whatever, immediately shitting down people's throats because of a dumb idea is not the way to do it. There are so many other ways to go about things. And it bugs me because I've been there. We've all been that kid new to a forum asking a question that, should have been we should have just used the search function for sure, but we thought it'd be faster just to ask on the internet. We've all been that person we got shit on, and maybe we got corrected because of it. But there are a lot of instances where like the reaction to a new guy getting into, especially drifting, is just way overboard and doesn't need to happen. And I'm sorry if I'm on my high horse here. I've been away from this platform, from being able to speak about these things for a long time. Normally I would air these out in smaller chunks, but I mean, that anyways, regardless. The other thing that I've brought up and I've talked about on a few different issues now is that like the divide between the grassroots and the pro drifter thing. Whether you like it or not, you can't have one without the other. You can't anymore. You might have been able to before, but at least in my mind and in my opinion, and if you're listening to this, you're obviously somewhat interested in my opinion, even if it's just a shit on me. In my opinion, one does not exist without the other. And this is much bigger than drifting. Without extreme, ridiculous show cars, there is no grassroots show car. Without insane stance guys, there is no basic stance guys. Without fucking F1, there is no karting. Without NASCAR, there is no stock car. These two things, whether you like them or not, need to coexist. You don't have to like them. You don't have to watch them. You don't have to give a shit. You don't even have to know who fucking Vaughn Gittin Jr. is. We're not asking you to do any of that. But you need to understand that it has to be there. These drivers need to be there. If they're not, if that sport doesn't exist, you don't have WiseFab. You don't have FDF. You don't have all of these other innovations that are coming in. You don't have progression in suspension, BC coilovers. You don't have fucking new parts for your 2J or your SR20 if you can still find one. You don't have any of those things. They need to be developed in crazy extreme situations, which FD and other professional motorsports affords you, to then be basically rebuilt and analyzed and then cycled down to a grassroots level. You know what else you don't get? You don't get drift tires. You don't get companies like Kenda or Zaknova or anything like that. You need to have a higher end market. One, like, don't fool yourself. Those companies research those tires after they're burnt off. They definitely take them back. They look at them. They figure out that shit. They can provide extreme wear testing on a tire at the most insane levels in 60 seconds instead of 60,000 miles. I mean, it's crazy. Drifting, it will break every product. It is one of the most abusive motorsports altogether. That and rally. I mean, in my mind, obviously, yes, drag racing has parts of it, but it doesn't have all the same shit that drifting and rally does. We need Formula Drift to get companies interested in developing parts because they need to see that there is a market. And even at a grassroots level or at a pro-am level or whatever, we get the trickle down from what happens at FD. If Odie Bakshis didn't exist, you wouldn't have field suspension. If Odie was not excited about Formula Drift, you would not have field suspension. You would not have all these different companies that are associated with it. If you didn't have Matt Field developing kits for the Corvette, guess what? We wouldn't have fucking kits for the Corvette. So you can shit on FD all you want, but without the innovations and technology and investment and research that goes along with high-level drifting, you do not get cheap angle kits. You do not get cheap tires. You do not get cheap anything. You are still just modifying knuckles. And if that is what you want to do, that's fucking awesome. But you are not everybody. There are people out there who want more angle. They want better tires. They want better things. And they need to have high-level, high-publicity competition in order for that to happen. Plain and simple. That's just how it works. Sorry if you don't agree with me. So, yeah, anyways. I've got a couple people messaging me here on Facebook in particular. I would love to get into these. Brian, it looks like from MI Drift left one. I can't read all that right now, dude, but I will try and touch on things the best I can. If you can throw it in the YouTube chat, then everybody can see it. Whatever you're comfortable with, please do. So yeah, that is obviously a giant complaint that I've had, and I've aired that issue on a few different occasions over the years. What else did I want to bitch about? Adam LZ. That guy, whatever you think about him, has done more to bring drifting into the limelight, into public sphere, into bringing in new audiences than basically anybody else. If you can provide an example of somebody else that was able to bring more eyes onto the sport than him, please let me know. Yes. Do I hate did Adam run yet? I just turned the chat off now. I used to love that chat. I was in there at every single event. I was commenting. I was doing shit like this in type form, which no one could read because I'm a terrible speller and I don't fucking double check things. Regardless, that part sucks. I agree. So then if you don't like that, if you want to have a conversation about FD around it, build your own community then. Maximum Driftcast used to have a great thing. I would spend more time in that chat than I did in the FD chat. But at the end of the day, that guy is doing more for drifting than almost anybody else right now. I believe it's been made public, and if not, I'm sorry, but he purchased Drift HQ. How much more investment into the fucking sport do you want? Like, the guy took a Drift HQ, which is a very progressive drifting base business that does things like service trucks and things like that. Very, very things that were really, really good for the drifting community. Have possible issues arrive that I am not aware of, that you're going to bitch and complain about and say, they fucked me on this? Probably. I don't know. I haven't gone through all of their service records, so if you have a standalone example of how they fucked you over, I'm sorry. But overall, they have done great things. They've introduced new drivers. They have done really good things when it comes to sourcing parts. All of that shit. Anyways, regardless. Adam LZ has now purchased it. He has this insane compound. He is building things. He is getting the word out there. He brought over the BMX community, whatever you think of that. I mean, at the end of the day, this entire sport was built off of like extreme sports people. So yeah, it's true. I mean, how many guys came from moto, skateboard, BMX, all that shit? There's a fair bit of them, and a lot of them are still into it. So yes, I like the new salty kitten. So at the end of the day, he is doing a lot for the sport. So shit on him all you want. Easy punching bag, punching up. I get it. It's fun. We all love shitting on people on the internet. Have at her. But from my perspective, the guy is doing incredible things from the industry. So, it is what it is. The guy's living the dream. Bossmaster on chat said it. Everyone wants to be LZ. Let's not kid ourselves. Anybody out? Okay, This is another point of contention. Everybody out there that shits on drivers that have money, I mean, there are a very, very finite amount of people that wouldn't want to be in a position to have all of your drifting shit paid for. The vast majority of us would fucking love it. I mean, can you really sit there and take yourself seriously and be like, you know what? No. You know, if my dad had money, I wouldn't be drifting on his money. I'd do it myself. I'd pay for everything myself and not take my dad's money. Shut up. There is no way you're saying that. If my daddy was a millionaire and I could just go out driving, fuck yeah, I'm going to build something ridiculous. I'm going to have a trailer. I'm going to have a chef. I'm doing that shit. And for a lot of these people, they don't know any different. If they grew up in money and they said, hey, Dad, I want to get into drifting, Dad went out and just bought a purpose-built drift car. He didn't find you some old beat-to-shit E36 or tell you to look at Kijiji and get a job. That's just how their life was. Sorry that you're mad that they started off better than you. Do I get jealous of it? All the time. 100%. Why wouldn't I be jealous of it? They have shit that I don't have. That would be great. Is there a bunch of people out there that look at me and they're jealous? Like, holy shit, he's got a 1995 BMW 540i, which fucking nobody wants. People are going to be jealous of you no matter what. There are kids out there who don't have shoes that are jealous of your shoes. So yeah, be jealous of them, but stop shitting on them. Why? Because they started off with more money. I'm sorry. You want a fun game? And I tell a lot of people this. Go look through the FD roster and play Where Did My Money Come From? Because it is a broad spectrum from people who have earned it, who have worked their absolute asses off. Von Gittin is a great example of this. We are talking about a guy that was like, I think he was like a Microsoft tech or something like that. He was like a tech support guy and fucking owns RTR. He's doing the craziest shit ever. I mean, he like there, and then yes, we have drivers who just came into money and they're able to just spend that. I mean, Nick Hogan was a great example of that. He's not in the sport anymore. He just took a bunch of daddy's money, built a stupid vet, and failed miserably. And it happens. It definitely happens. Were we all jealous when he went in? For sure. Did we all secretly kind of hope that he did poorly? I mean, a little bit. Terrible. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, we don't, it's easy to shit on him. It's fun to shit on him. I get it. But at the end of the day, those people bringing in those money, in that money, they're bringing more money to the sport. They're bringing more eyes to the sport. They're bringing corporate sponsorship to the sport. They're bringing a seriousness to the sport. So you need to look at all of those things before you really, really start hating on them. I mean, I'm going to say right now, Brandon Sorensen is going to be he will be a champion within the next 5 years. I mean, I'll go out and say it. I think Brandon Sorensen will be a champion within 5 years. He has not unlimited resources, but obviously far more than a lot of people. He has a family that is incredibly, incredibly supportive of what he and him and his sister does. And they have racing heritage. They have the money to fund it. And the kid is just incredibly talented. Could he still get to FD without the money? I still think he could. I still think even if he was just his dad made $50,000 a year and he just managed to like get his mom's beat down old S13 or something like that. I don't know. E36, whatever. S13s, I mean, they're unicorns now. But at the end of the day, I still think he's a phenomenal driver, no matter what kind of funding the kid has. He's incredible. Okay, so this is something else that came up, is the price of drifting and how expensive drifting is getting. So I can't fix the chassis issue. All I can tell you is stop fucking crashing your cars. That's a tough one. But going back to previous statements that I had, now that we are getting more people involved, we are getting more companies in, we are seeing more development between tires and suspension and all this shit, we are then going to get cheaper items. With stuff, obviously, like WiseFab. WiseFab's a great example. So obviously industry leader for a long time. Somebody comes along, another company, there's a few of them out there, and they go, hey, I can make that, but cheaper and better. And then they do it. And what happens? You get something that is cheaper and better. Well, then WiseFab has to correct. And then another company finds out, hey, I can do it cheaper and better too. And then you're going to get a couple of companies that go, I can do it cheaper, but maybe not as good, but like very close. And then we start to see this race to the bottom. It's crazy. It's this weird thing called capitalism. And who hate it or not, what it results in is cheaper products. And that is what happens when we see drifting get bigger, is that these parts become more attainable. More companies are willing to go out on the ledge and provide these. Drifting is expensive. All motorsport is expensive. If you want a cheap motorsport, let me know where it is. Pedal cars, I don't know. It is inherently expensive. Hockey is also expensive. Computers are also expensive. Are they as expensive as drifting? Some of them, not all of them. We have gone into this industry, we've gone into this hobby fully aware that drifting is expensive. There are very few people out there that got into drifting and got 3 years in and went, holy shit, this is costing me a lot of money. No, we're all pretty fucking aware of what we're doing. We all understand when we run up credit cards, when we go into overdraft, when we forget to pay a bill, when we have to tell the credit bureau that, yeah, we'll get to it, all because we wanted to go drifting. Those are the sacrifices we make, whether you like it or not. There are people out there that are horribly in debt because of drifting. I would guess probably a third of this audience has some sort of debt associated with drifting. So yeah, I understand it's expensive. And once again, these are the sacrifices that we make. But going back to what I said before, the bigger it gets, the cheaper it will get. We will get more tracks. Tracks will have to lower their prices because there'll be competitive events. When there are 3 tracks all within driving distance having a drifting event on the same weekend, what do? They drop their rates because they want people there. They do different promos. They throw on different events. They try different competitions. They bring in celebrity drivers. They do shit like that. And as somebody who does marketing, that is the shit that you do. You are trying to win market share. You are trying to get business. You need tactics. You need strategies. You need pricing. You need promos. That is how you get more people to your event as opposed to somebody else's event. You make it more enticing. So what that means is if drifting gets bigger, there are more tracks that offer it, which means it will get cheaper. Which means, like, how many tire companies have come in and out of drifting? Why? Probably because they went, oh, this wasn't as big as I thought it was. Or it didn't take off the way I thought it would. Has drifting got a lot bigger? Yes, it has. But these companies work off of projections and futures. They think if we invest in this, we might get this out of it. We get this much market share. We get this experience. Yes, a bunch of companies invest money because it's a tax write-off. It's considered advertising. Yes, those are all things. But if they see a legitimate return from it, they will continue to do it. And they will continue to manufacture products that support that industry. Plain and simple. Like, it's just, I mean, that's what it is. That's how this works. The more people are interested, the cheaper shit gets. So if you want drifting to be cheaper, once again, this does not count towards the chassis thing because there's only so many to go around. If you want parts and track time to be cheaper, you need to spread the word. You need to hoard as many S13s and Miatas and C6s as you can, and then tell your friends. On that note, though, as there is more want for drifting, we are going to see, I'm not saying this is the case, but things like the GT86, I would hedge my bets to say there is a correlation between that vehicle and drifting. It does hit that market. You have to be sure that there were conversations, there are conversations out there between these manufacturers talking about how they need to develop chassis for like young motorists and things like that. So if they are enticed to go into these things, if they see the response to it, they will develop chassis. Yes, it will take years before they are affordable for the mass public. But I was at a fucking drifting weekend not that long ago, a grassroots event. I saw at least 3 C6s, and I saw probably 5 or 6 FRSs, GT86, BRZ, whatever you want to call it. They are out there. They are getting out there. And here's the other thing. If more hit the road, more will crash, which means more for us. Cheaper chassis then. We all know, look for a BRZ with rear end damage because you can just do this. Or if it's got, I'm going to do an engine swap, so it just needs the fucking rad support bent in, and then I can buy it. We need more of them on the road in order for us to be able to buy them. Which means that car developers need to see a want for it. When we have Toyota sponsoring events, you have to be sure as shit that at some marketing meeting, at some design meeting, somebody went, well, what about drifters? What about people who are rear wheel drive enthusiasts? Maybe they'll buy this car. Maybe they will buy this car as a daily because they like rear wheel drive, because that's what you need for drifting. Am I making a big leap? For sure. But you have to think that there was something said in those meetings. I mean, I'd love to see Ryan Turk and Frederick Osbo like in a Toyota development meeting be like, no, we need to drift it. Like, no more. I can't do Corollas anymore. It's not easy to drive. We need rear wheel. Please, for the love of God, just make another rear wheel. So yes, that will help fix things the more people we get into it. And once again, please, if you have opinions or thoughts juxtaposed to mine, I want to know about it. I mean, I'm yelling into the void right now. I get that. But I mean, I get it. But at the end of the day, I want a conversation, because my opinions have changed over the years. And that's something else. That, I mean, as human beings, as a society, we need to fucking listen to the other side. Like, do you have any idea how many times thoughts and opinions I've had and then I've heard somebody else's like argument against it and I went, oh, shit. Yeah, they're right. Okay, I'm an idiot. You need to be able to do that. You need to be able to do that sometimes. You definitely need to be able to do that. So I am very up to hearing people's opinions. I want to know what people think, and you know, we'll go from there. Somebody commented, bring back the manuals. One, yes, 100%, I agree. What I think will happen is, even if we lose a lot of manuals, is once again, you will have companies like Getrag, like Samsonus, I mean, the dog boxes. You will have companies like ZF or ZF or whatever you want to call it, manufacturing more transmissions for motorsport if the demand is there. If there's no demand, they won't do it. That is what business is, supply and demand. If we demand it, they will supply it. If they have less supply and there's more demand, then prices go up. If there is ample supply and as much demand, then prices even out. It's just economics. It's what it is. But yes, I agree. Bring back the manuals. More automotive manufacturers should be having manuals. And when I have my next consulting meeting with Mazda, I will definitely let them know that. I'm just kidding. I have no affiliation with Mazda whatsoever. But then I really like their cars and always have. Something about a Mazda. Anyways, what else did I want to talk about? I believe I want to talk about the delineation of knowledge. So I might get a little aggressive on this one. So okay. Knowledge dies when we don't pass it along. Knowledge dies when it is not written down, when it is not given to other people. That is where knowledge dies. That is where history dies. If it is not documented, eventually it dies. Drifting is in a place right now where we are going through so much development. There is, with people there, I mean, I don't have to go through all the names, but there are so many people in this sport right now that are developing in ways that are so beyond what you would think. It's so, they've taken things so much further than we even know. We need to be passing down information, and we need to be mentoring young drivers. So, sorry, I was just looking at the comments. I shouldn't be, but I will, Joe Makes Drift. I will get to your comment in a second, cause I like that, and I will get there. We need to be passing down information, and we need to be mentoring people. The best example I have of this is, look at Formula Drift right now. The drivers that are doing the best, the drivers that I see the most business, sponsorship, and results, are ones that have been directly mentored by other people. I think Dylan Hughes is the best example of that. Under direct mentorship of one of the best FD drivers ever, fucking prove me wrong, Chris Forsberg, has he had his controversy? Has he pulled some weird stunts? Yes. But on the grand scheme of drifting, he's a day one guy. I mean, he's got 2 championships. You can't deny that the guy is fucking excellent. He's also a great businessman. Dylan Hughes, one, is an incredibly talented driver, but I don't know if he would be where he is right now without the mentorship of Chris Forsberg. Very similar with Chelsea DeNova. Chelsea DeNova is incredibly talented, but before Vaughn picked him up, he was broke as a joke. I mean, I don't know how much longer Chelsea DeNova would have been in drifting if he wouldn't have signed on with Vaughn. I mean, we could ask him, and he might tell us, I'd be there forever. I'd sell my house. I'd sell my soul. I was ready to cut out a kidney. I don't know. But yeah, I think I think that we need that mentorship. And with that mentorship needs to trickle down to the grassroots level. It needs to be, I said this in one of the comments when I shared this, FD teams need to have multiple divisions, very similar to how F1 is. They need to have the pro team of potentially 2 drivers. They need to have a pro spec team of potentially 2 drivers, a pro am team of potentially 2 drivers, and quite possibly a grassroots subsect within that. The reason for that is that's the only way that the sport is going to progress. It's the only way we're going to see corporate investment in it. It's the only way we're going to see money into it, is if we get this. If we continue to have drivers that are very talented, that don't have the guidance they need, go into FD, and then fucking fade away, we're going to lose the sport. Any time that we don't have a top 32 and then some, that is the root cause of the problem, is that we have drivers coming into the sport, driving at that level, that either don't have the financial support that they need, so they don't have some sort of business mindset, or they are broken because their car is not prepared, or some other kind of strange thing that's going on. But the first 2 we can cure. We can cure those very, very easily. We can cure the financial side of it by having a mentor, by having somebody who has already made it, who is doing well, who has a business mindset that can help them get can get the sorry, I got to stop reading comments while I'm ranting. A good business mentor will help you develop sponsorship relationships. If nothing else, they can introduce you to the sponsors that they already work with. They can teach you how to budget for a season. They can teach you how to be a brand ambassador, because at the level of motorsports that Formula Drift is, you need to be a brand ambassador. You need to be promoting the brands that promote you. It is not enough. And fucking put this as your ringtone. It is not enough to have a sponsor just be a sticker on your car or a person on your jacket. It's not enough. And if you're like, well, they don't give me a lot of money, they just give me a discount, you are in the wrong fucking mindset. You either undersold that sponsor, you did not get enough out of them, so that is why the mindset you have it, or you are not thinking of the big picture. I started off I've had sponsors on almost every car that I've ever built, no matter how shitty it is. And the reason for that is because I've developed a great relationship with these companies, and most of them I've started off with a discount part sponsor. Oh no, you shouldn't sell yourself for less than whatever. You're right. But if I don't have anything to fucking offer them that isn't better than a discount, why in the hell would I ever expect them just to give me money? I still have sponsors that I only get a parts discount on. Why? Because I only provide enough value to them to warrant that amount of money, because it's still costing them money. So yes, am I selling myself short in some cases? A lot of people could argue that, for sure. But at the end of the day, I need to provide to them the same value that they are providing to me. If they are giving me money, I need to provide them enough advertising return to warrant that amount of money. That's what it is. When a company is giving you money, even if they're giving you free parts, let's say they're giving you a $500 radiator that costs them $300 to manufacture, right? They're giving you that $300. They're giving you that shipping. They're giving you that time. So you need to provide to them at a bare minimum that amount of money worth of advertising. However you think that money should be delineated out. Do I think that a free part is worth only a sticker on a car? I mean, I guess it depends on what level you're at. Unless you're an FD driver, unless you are getting thousands of eyes on your program, unless you have a shitload of social media followers, I think they deserve more than that. If you are just a grassroots driver that is going to be driving in front of only other drivers because nobody invites their fucking family out, so nobody is going to see these stickers and advertising, yeah, you need to do more for them. You need to have photos sent to them. You need to talk to them about, doing some sort of brand ambassadorship. Is there something you can do for them? Can you shoot a mini commercial? Can you be involved in a commercial? Can you offer them tech support on things? Can you try out test models for them? Can you just send them all of the photos from the event you were at, and maybe they'll repost it? Maybe. Now, that being said, this live stream is sponsored by the great people at Mishimoto. It is not sponsored by them. Have I been sponsored by Mishimoto in the past? For sure. Am I currently sponsored by Mishimoto? In a way. That was a good cut. That's somebody who watches the channel. At the end of the day, you need to understand the amount of money that these companies are investing in you and provide an equal asset to that amount of money that they are investing. You actually need to give them significantly more. Why? Because you want more out of them later. Am I not wrong? Is anybody who gets free parts from a company thinking in their head, it'd be a lot fucking better if they cut me a check? We all are thinking that, for sure. If you're not and you're happy with where you're at, perfect. Don't bitch and complain about what they give to you then. If you are bitching and complaining about the sponsorships you're getting or not getting, then you need to understand where you are not fulfilling some sort of duty. You need to take a deep look in your soul and realize that my Instagram account that has 100 followers and the one photo I posted of them from the time that I first got the box isn't enough for them to be happy to cut you $3,000 fucking dollars. It's not. Now, if you are sending them photos, even if you're a grassroots driver, even if you just drift 3 or 4 times a year and a company throws you some discounts or some free parts, if you get a bunch of photos from an event, if you hire a photographer, find a friend who's just good with a camera, source them however, it's like send them that shit and be like, hey, here's me driving with your sticker on it. Feel free to use these in any way possible. Post about them, comment about them, be on their feed. Do shit for them because they did shit for you. Go above and beyond. Be an awesome person. Be a great brand ambassador because it's going to come back. It's going to come back. And if it doesn't, fuck that company. It happens. You're going to get shitty sponsors. The same way you're going to get a shitty fucking job sometimes. You're going to have shitty fucking friends and you're going to get a shitty fucking sandwich sometimes. That shit happens. Do you cast every single company with a broad brush that way? No. If you want to, feel free, but then don't bitch that you're not getting sponsors because every company sucks. If everybody sucks, it's probably you that sucks. Sorry. The amount of people that I see bitch complain that every company that they're dealing with is an asshole, there's only one common denominator. It's not like every company is an asshole. It's probably the person that's the asshole. And if that's you, leave me a comment, whatever. We all know those people. They bitch and complain all the time on Facebook and Instagram, and we all have the same thought. Well, you're the dick. So, anyways, sorry, I'm ranting. At the end of the day, if you want those sponsorships, if you want that type of information, you need to do more for the brand. And sorry, I need to get back to what I was originally talking about. I way deviated. That information about how to be a sponsor, how to be a sponsoree, how to be a good brand ambassador needs to come down from people who have already been sponsored. That information shouldn't be hitting. We should have a better understanding of what it costs to run at particular events. We should have a better understanding of how it is to set up a car. When people say things like, oh, I got to dial in more grip. How many fucking people here actually know what somebody is talking about? What suspension things are you changing to dial in grip? Do you know? Do you understand that it's going to be different for every car and every setup? A lot of people don't. I hear that all the time at the track. I'm like, oh, I just don't have enough grip. I'll just drop the tire pressure. Okay, that's great. How much camber do you have? How much, like, what's your suspension setup like? And we see people get out of drifting because they don't have enough knowledge about how to set up their car, how to run their program, how to do any of that shit. So let's just talk about car setup for a second. If you are running a car and somebody asks you what your settings are, what does it mean to you to take 5 minutes out of your day to tell them about your settings, about what you need to know? It blows my mind when this happens. And I've seen it happen with pro down to pro 2 guys back in the day, where pro guys are very secretive of their car setup. And that's fine. You don't have to give away all your secrets, but you should at least look at a driver in pro spec or a driver that's beneath you in some way. See that their car setup is not good. Because if you've been in drifting, we all know what a bad car setup looks like. We know what the car looks like when it's reacting, how it is through a corner. Take 2 minutes out of your way, go talk to that driver and be like, hey, this is what your car is doing. This is why you're spinning out. Here is what I think it could be. You should give it a try. If they are not receptive to that knowledge, that is their problem. But you have done your part to help support the drifting community and support delineating down that knowledge. Yes, there are going to be situations where people give bad advice. We've all had it. It's happened to all of us. But at the end of the day, the only way to get rid of bad advice is by filling the environment with good advice. So if you know something about your chassis, if you know something about a setup, if you found a trick, pass that information along to somebody, anybody, somebody within the drifting community. there's no reason why we shouldn't be. It's not like we're at a point, it's not like this is NASCAR and all of the secret tips and tricks and things like that are the difference between our competition. Right now, there are 32 people in North America, I mean, if we're just counting FD, that should be properly concerned about all the things that are going on with their car. And even then, they should then be giving that knowledge to the people in pro spec. Because it's not like they don't like when they say raise it a bit. Yeah, that's true. I mean, don't raise your car. I'm just kidding. Even the guys at pro should be mentoring and should be giving advice and car setup details and sponsorship stuff to all of the pro spec guys. And the pro spec guys should be giving that knowledge down to the pro-am guys. And the pro-am guys should be giving that information down to the grassroots guys. And everybody should be sharing this knowledge and information. It used to happen a lot more when the drifting community was a lot smaller. And for some reason now, people feel the need to be tight-lipped about it. I don't understand why. And so moving on to that, we kind of talked about car setup. We talked about a little bit about sponsorship, and kind of the next thing I want to talk about is just budgets. Sorry. Oh man, my 5 Series already slammed on the frame for that comment. It's way too low. We need to talk more about money when it comes to drifting. I think by trying to hide the total cost of what it is like to run a pro spec, to run grassroots, to run any of that stuff, does nobody any favors. I love to see guys like Jonathan Hurst who are very open about how much money it costs him to run. I believe it was in Pro 2 at the time. Pro-Am is dead, homies. It's not dead. It just transformed into shootouts. And that's a whole other area of contention for me. Anyways, I can get into that. If you guys want me to talk about my opinion on shootouts, just leave a comment and I will get into it. It will remind me to talk about it. But we do need to be talking about the cost of drifting more. To go to a grassroots event. Okay, here's a great example. I'll give you the breakdown right now of what it cost me to go drifting last time. It cost me roughly $300 in fuel. 3. It cost me $200 at the gate. 5. It cost me $200 to rent my trailer. It cost me another around $200 in miscellaneous food and bullshit. So for me to go out drifting for a weekend as a grassroots, I'm terrible at driving, it cost me $900. Can you, like, it doesn't seem that way. When you're planning for drifting, you're not like, it's going to cost me $1,000 to go driving on a grassroots event. You're not thinking about that. It's these little cuts that cost you, the things you forget about. It's the small shit. Can you drive for cheaper? Yeah. If I live closer to a track, for sure it would be cheaper. If I didn't have to rent a trailer, for sure it wouldn't be cheaper. For sure it would be cheaper. There are definitely ways to do it cheaper. Can you go driving for less than $500? Yes. If you live right next to the track and you don't owe anything on your truck and trailer and you don't break anything, that event will only cost you your event fees and the fuel and whatever else. So you're talking about, in that case, $300 to $400. Let's say, hesitantly, $300. That is still expensive. That is still expensive. Does it cost $300 to play pickup hockey on a weekend? No. Great example there. $900 is cheap compared to other motorsports. Yes, it is. It is cheap compared to other motorsports. So that's a grassroots. And obviously that price can range for a weekend of drifting anywhere between, let's say, $100 at the absolute bare minimum if tickets are cheap and nothing breaks and you fucking live at the racetrack, which is kind of all of our dreams. But when we get into Pro-Am, how much is it costing for Pro-Am? A lot more. And Pro-Am might be dead. And actually, I will shout out Nick Quigley. God, I hope I pronounced his name right. He had a post about this very recently. And this is part of my mindset, and it definitely comes up. But we need to share this information. The fucking Pro-Am guys, the Pro Spec guys, and the Pro guys need to open up about the true cost of driving. I can tell you right off the bat, to drive Pro 2, you're looking at around $40,000 to drive. Can you do it cheaper? Yes. Can you do it comfortably cheaper? Probably not. If you are going to run a team that is, drifting is actually a lot cheaper than driving at a rep level. Yes, in some cases for sure. Pickup hockey, not so much. Can you drive Pro Spec? I'm going to probably call Pro 2 a whole bunch because I haven't recognized Pro Spec as a series yet. It's still Pro 2 in my mind. Can you drive it a lot cheaper? Yes, 100% you can. Can you do it comfortably cheaper? Probably not. You'll be sleeping in a hot ass trailer. It might be an open trailer. You'll be eating a bunch of bag sandwiches for sure. That's the kind of shit that's going to happen. You need to be prepared to drive pro spec for around $40,000. It needs to be around $10,000 an event. Straight up, between entry fees, damage to the car, spare parts, staffing, shit like that. That's what it's going to be. Here's the other thing too. To be successful in those sports, you need money. I hate to say it, you need money. You need that money in one way or another. And you can either get that money from dad, you can get it from the shop that you run, from the business that you own, you can get it from your fucking friends, you can get it from faking your own death in Mexico, you can get it from all of these different things to be able to drive competitively. One way you can do it is with sponsors. And I obviously spoke at length earlier in this podcast about I have no idea what points you're trying to make. Okay, sorry. You can definitely do it cheaper than that. But I think we see a lot of drop off when it comes to these different prospect levels and stuff like that, because people are not understanding just the total cost of what it's going to what the total cost is of running that event or that series. And that's why we're seeing this drop off, because we are not I'm talking about running it for a season, not even the car. I mean, the car can cost you as much or as little as you need it to cost you, but to run the season, yeah, I mean, it's going to be around $40,000. And I think that a lot of people go into a season on a shoestring budget, and one thing breaks, and that's it. They're gone. We've seen it in pro. We see it all the time in pro spec and pro 2, and we see it infinitely in what is or what was pro am. So by not giving people all the information that they need, whether it be car setup, whether it be how to deal with sponsors, or the total cost of it, we are doing everybody a massive disservice, and we are seeing a massive drop off in these different series, and it crumbles from the bottom. You know, that's the thing. So, so great example here from Drift Indy. Dudes shouldn't even be thinking about driving pro, etc. That is the problem. Any pro driving is expensive in general. I tell you this because my name is Edgar, the founder of MDU. Edgar can probably speak to this more than pretty much everybody, because he has firsthand experience with it. You see how many people struggle through it because they have unreal expectations of what it is. We all have that dream. Wow. Okay. So he is saying, I think the biggest mistake that we made early on is helping pioneer and watch our friends go pro. I do agree in some regard. I think that I think it is necessary to have pro. I said this earlier on. I think it is necessary to allow the people who truly deserve to be in pro and have that mindset and have that ability to take that step and go there. What I think is the problem is that we think if you don't make it as pro, it is wrong to drop back down. I think that is a huge problem. Guys like Cameron Moore. Cameron Moser is a fucking fantastic pro-am driver. Did he give his shot at pro? Could he have done better with more budget? Probably. But to try and shit on a guy for dropping back down a couple of levels because he didn't make it in pro, like any sport, just because you're like, there are plenty of guys who are just fantastic OHL hockey players who might have been called up to the big game a couple of times and then, sorry, I gotta stop reading the comments mid-rant. Just because you made it to the big show and you failed, it doesn't mean that you're fucking bad and should stop playing hockey. Just because you made it to pro and didn't do well, doesn't mean you should give up drifting altogether. I think that you have every right to give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out for you for one reason or another, financially, vehicle, time, money, whatever, then you should have absolutely no shame for dropping back down into a lower series. You shouldn't. And once again, that's just a mindset that we need to change. Guys like Nate Hamilton. Nate Hamilton is a guy who gave it a solid shot. He fucking went at it. He made his gripes about it. He talked about the stress and the headspace and how it wasn't fun for him anymore. And now he's an incredible party drifter. And he's probably making more money off of party drifting than he ever would have in FD. And that's, in my mind, a nobler pursuit. I think more guys should have the mindset of wanting to compete in pro-am or at a lower level to get that competition urge out of them and then be a party drifter the rest of the year. I think it is perfectly acceptable to be a fantastic pro-am driver. Fielding Shredder is a great example of that. That's a guy who's a fantastic pro-am driver that is happy to be at that level. Has something maybe changed? I don't know. I think that, he may change his mindset at some point in time and want to jump up. But from the last thing that I'm aware of in his situation, he is doing exactly what he should be, at least in my mind. If you are happy in that level, if you're happy with that financial commitment and that time commitment and being able to just walk away from the series and take a weekend off and not have a huge team spotting you and all that shit, then that's totally fine in my mind. So yes, going up to the big show and failing does kill a lot of drifting. But I think a lot of that could be mitigated by people truly understanding what it is like to be in that. I mean, that's something else that should happen. You should have to be behind the scenes of fucking either a pro spec or a pro team to understand what FD is like before you ever get there. There should be there should be a better streamline. There should be a better course of action between the grassroots driver all the way up to the pro level. You should have to experience it. You should have to crew it. You should have the first time you go to FD should not be when you're fucking driving there. That is crazy. You should at least go to an event to witness it as an absolute bare minimum. I think that, you should, like I said, you should have to stage or mentor with a team before you get to pro. I mean, obviously, if you are in Pro-Am, if you're in Pro Spec, obviously you've been to FD rounds and you understand a little bit more. But I really, really think that every Pro Spec driver should have somebody on the pro roster, whether it is current or even past. I mean, I really think the guys who were drift superstars back in the day, guys like Reese Milne, should come back and fucking be not even an owner of a team, just a mentor, just a guy they can call and be like, yo, what do I need to pack? Like, how many times have guys in different like in not FD level, but even lower, have just been out because they forgot a part? And I'm not talking about like a whole engine. I'm talking about like a tie rod because they didn't know, or they weren't able to prepare properly for a 5-minute timeout. Like, there's a reason why guys completely pre-build their suspension components at pro, and that way they can just pull the whole thing out and put the whole thing back in. They also do things like change the alignment on that so it matches the current alignment that you're setting up. And it's not, if you're changing the alignment, you should be changing it on your backup set too, because it's not doing you a load of fucking good if you have it as the same setup that you had in the morning, right? And then you've changed it in the afternoon, and now you put the same morning setup on that you've changed, and now the driver's all confused because the car doesn't have the same grip it did earlier. Shit like that, little shit like that is what drivers are missing when they're trying to move up. It's all fucking. It's easy for me to bitch, like it's easy for me to spout all this shit because it's stuff that I've learned. Even once again, just being around a Pro 2 team for 2 years. That's it. That is the qualification I have. So take everything I have with a grain of salt. That is the grain of salt you can put on. You can be like, well, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about then. For sure. Go ahead, say it. I don't care. But based off of what I know and what I've learned and people I've talked to, these are the pieces of information that cause teams to fail. They cause them to have a small break and then not make it into the show. And then they get discouraged and then that's it. I mean, that's it. So Josh Clark, a good comment on that. Sorry, I'm just getting to it. If 50 people in Drift Indie events, percentage of them even care about going to Pro 2, it seems like the vast majority just want to have seat time with their friends. For sure. And that's good to see. I'm very happy to see that. And I think that is definitely the case. And that is a good mindset to have. Is that every driver? No. Do a lot of those drivers want to move up? Yes. But once again, I think that the drivers that do want to move up should have the correct information about what it is actually like to move up into that level of driving. So this now leads me into my Pro-Am versus shootout debate. I don't know the numbers, and if somebody feels like doing the numbers for me, I would love to know how many people have won a shootout and are still in Pro Spec or Pro. The biggest issue I have with a shootout, the biggest issue that I have with the shootout is that drivers are not prepared as a team. They may be prepared as a driver. They may be the best driver there. They may have the best performing car that day. What it has not taught them is the attrition, the organization, the planning, and the fucking endurance that you need to run a series. It doesn't have to be a Pro-Am series. It just has to be a series in general. Just because you're on One day you had the car did not break, or maybe it broke and you were able to fix it. You got a good driver run up, you got a good pick, and you happen to win the event, does not mean that you are prepared to run a 4 event or more series. Derek Madison. Okay, great example. No, for sure. Derek does have a very good team. I'm just what I am suggesting here is that we once again are ill preparing people to get into this next level. You are giving them an opportunity to win one event, and then they have only been going on for 3 years. It gives you the ability to win one event, but not be prepared for what it is actually like. The argument against that would be that pro-am drifting sucks so much money out of you, you don't have enough money to then pay to run Pro Spec or Pro 2 or anything else. So, Drift Indy, once again, great comment on that. Yes, I agree with you that they were created because Pro-Am events were lacking driver counts. So they still need to hand out the licenses, and this was an easy way to do it. For sure. I'm not saying they weren't created for a reason, but it bugs me that this happens. And the reason that I'm saying it is that I saw it in the pits. I saw guys that had won a shootout. I don't want to name names, and maybe these are isolated incidences, but once again, I can only call off of what I have learned over the years and what I've heard from other people and things along those lines. It worried me when I saw the way that they were at the track. It worried me when I saw the way that their car was set up, the way that they were doing things. It worried me. It just did. Because the things that you need to learn to be successful moving forward with it is that attrition, is that those things. And yes, for sure, there are guys out there that went to 15 events before they ever won that shootout, and those are probably the guys that do win the shootouts. They're the guys that have the experience, that have run several other events like that. I don't know of anybody whose like first real competition was a shootout and they won it. Has it happened? Maybe. I don't think that it is killing drifting. It just worries me. That is what I'm going to say. So yeah, I've been running events since 2005, and grassroots is the strongest I've ever seen it, for sure. And I'm very happy to see that grassroots is like that. The term grassroots is definitely a foggy one in my mind. And what I'm thinking here, Drifting Indy, is you and I should just have a podcast and just argue. And if you'd like to come on, I'm happy to do that, and we can set something up. So I'm very happy to see that grassroots is thriving the way that it is. I don't necessarily enjoy the term grassroots. I think that it's muddy. I think that it's tough to very much decide exactly where that line ends, because there are I don't think that there are I think that there's a lot of bleed in between the two, because there are guys who drive Pro-Am then they just go to a bunch of fun events and things along those lines, right? So just the term grassroots always kind of bugs me. I mean, the way I see it is like competitive driving versus non-competitive driving. That's not perfect either, but that's just kind of the way that I like to look at it. And a lot of people just say, well, grassroots is non-competitive driving, but that's not the case, because things like Grid Life, it's a grassroots event, kind of. Yeah, I mean, once again, you could say grassroots is a lower budget, but there are guys who are lower budget that are competing. So like there's bleed over no matter what. So like I said, I'm just concerned about the shootout thing, because I don't know if it prepares people for the long haul and the attrition and endurance that you need to be running in a series. Once again, yes, a lot of people are going to run other events before they go to the shootout, and they're just going to win that, or there is not a Pro-Am series near them, so they like to do a shootout that is near them, that gives them their opportunity, gives them their one shot to do what they need to do and make their dreams come true. That part of it I love. I very much like the stories that come out of it. Once again, this is just my concern, and I hope somebody proves me wrong. I'm not saying I want any of these things to happen. I want to be proven wrong. I want things to change, or I want things to be different than the way that I'm viewing it. And I need to come for one of your events, No Star Bash, September 17th. If the border opens, I'm down. I mean, I'm in Windsor. I'm fucking right here. The border opens, I'm there. So I love grassroots events. I arguably like them more than competition. I find them significantly more entertaining. But I like competition for a whole other set of reasons. I don't like competition because there's cars going around constantly and people are just like doing crazy shit. So, newsflash, Pro-Am never prepared dudes for FD. I mean, that's tough. That's tough because, I mean, I would argue otherwise. And obviously, Drift Indy has significantly more experience in that than I do because there were a Pro-Am series. But I mean, you saw guys like Riley Sexsmith and Alec Robbins come out of it. I mean, there's two great examples. Just putting that out there. Obviously, there are other drivers that did also come out of it. But anyways, so JB has a great example there. Shootouts are a joke, and FD, it's our FD targeting drivers as easy as they can because they are running out of them. They are running out of them. For sure. Whenever, like I said before, whenever we see a lack of drivers below 32, that means that there is a problem. There is not enough drivers. There is something going on. And I think the reason why that's happening is because people have unreal expectations of what it is like to be an FD driver. They don't understand the amount of work or the amount of money that is involved in it. They get into it. They run one event, the first event of the year, and then we just see them fucking disappear and go into obscurity, whether they go back to Pro-Am, which once again is not a problem. It's not a problem if you drop down a series. I don't care. It's more admirable. So Sexsmith has done what in FD? Pro 2 driver, had his pro license, is not driving an FD right now. 1, because the border is closed. 2, because he was in a massive motorcycle accident. Just going to put that out there. Full disclosure, I worked with Riley Sexsmith for a number of years, so I'm going to be a little defensive on that comment because I know the guy personally. But yeah, Pro 2 driver, did quite well, did get his pro license. Before we were able to get our pro license, won the border. Plan was take a year off to practice and get ready for FD because we know that. But anyways, again, mucho monies, a lot of it is learning, so they do progress. Yeah, for sure. So anyways, moving on from that, is there anything else you guys want me to rant about or discuss or anything else? I mean, I 100%, Drift Indy, let's do this. Let's have a conversation. Please shoot me a line on Facebook or whatever, Jacob Gettins, and I want to get you on. I want to have this discussion, and that way we can have a proper back and forth because, I mean, I want you to change my mind. I want people to change my mind. Do I think drifting as a whole is dying? No, I don't think drifting is dying. Did I make it an incredibly clickbait thumbnail on this and title? For sure, because unfortunately, that's the kind of shit. Look at the Pro 2 comp that year. I mean, that would have been Alec Robbins and Jonathan Hurst, who are both in pro. So, I mean, he was definitely driving against other pro caliber drivers. So, less drivers, easier FD. FD has its issues too, for sure. I'm not going to sit here and say that FD is perfect by any means. So, but yeah, if there is something else you guys want me to comment on, please let me know. Yeah, I would definitely. I mean, and if you guys have other people that you want on the show, check out Drift Indy Pub. Okay, we'll do. If there's other discussions you guys want to have, please let me know. If there's topics that you want me to go and rant on, I mean, I'm more than happy to do that. There's a lot more things that I would like to talk about for sure. Are they all hitting my mind at this exact moment? No. And was this a little bit disjointed? For sure. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, I haven't had a podcast come out in a while. I haven't had a podcast come out before the season. So I had a lot of this shit building up over a long period of time. And once again, if you missed the beginning, I mean, I'm coming from this from the perspective of somebody who does marketing within the automotive space, within drifting in particular. So I get to see a lot of what the businesses see. I get to understand why businesses invest money in things. You know, that's the lens that I get to, that's the lens that I get to look at this through. And it's not a lens that everybody gets to look at it through. That's why I like to have conversations with other people. That's why I've had guys like, shameless self-plug here, Ryan Sage on, why I've had Kevin Wells on, why I've had different drivers from different levels. You know, guys who are just YouTube drivers, guys who are pro drivers, pro spec drivers, Pro 2 drivers. I've had all these people on, and I really want to do this more often. It is very difficult for me to do it. I don't have a lot of time, but I am going to make a concerted effort to do more of these because I think we need to have these conversations. Drifting podcasts are not plentiful right now. Obviously, Maximum Driftcast is not in its full stride for whatever reason that is. I don't actually know. There are a lot of different things that, there are a lot of different things that are going on, but I feel like it's a time that I should probably, I should get more of a voice going. I feel like I need to take my own advice and promote drifting more than what I have been. I've dropped the ball. I've dropped the ball. I mean, I have been given an opportunity to have this podcast and have all these people on, and I haven't done it. So this is me, being a hypocrite of everything that I said earlier about not supporting the industry and getting the word out to as many people as possible. So I am the first person that I should blame, and I'm the first person who should change. So I'm going to try and do this more often. I would appreciate everybody's support in it. If you like this, if you hated this, if you want to have a conversation about this podcast more, please share it, comment on it, get the word out there. I mean, selfishly, if I see more numbers, if I see that people want to fucking listen to this, if I see that these conversations need to happen, if you have suggestions on people I need to have conversations with, let me know. Please, let me know. Because if I don't see conversations, if I don't see people wanting to do this, I have no reason to keep doing it. At the end of the day, that's what it is. So I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank everybody that came in and out of the chat. If you are listening to this on the podcast version of it, there is a video version where it's just me in my office, just shaking my hands violently and drinking coffee and smoking. If you want to see that, feel free. But guys, I really, really enjoyed the conversations we had. There were a lot of comments here, and I wish I could have got to all of them. I get very distracted. I think you should have some fun, homie. Hit me up in the internets. I will, for sure. I apologize if this was disjointed, if I didn't make sense on a lot of topics. It is what it is. I'm sorry. Wow, fuck, I sound Canadian. But yeah, like I said, I'm very thankful that everybody here, I want to thank everybody who's ever supported anything we've done, because it does mean a lot. So I am going to end it here. Please keep hitting us up in the comments, and please keep the conversation going, and let me know your thoughts. If you want to make a post, tag me in it, tag Pissnet Productions in it, and leave a comment on something I spoke about. I will try to get to all the comments. But at the end of the day, if we want this sport to keep growing, if we want it to keep getting better, we need to get the word out there. We need to be professional. We need to understand that, unfortunately, money rules everything, and we need to have that mindset as well. Talk more about the BMW. Nobody wants to hear about the BMW. So we need to understand that in order for it to grow, things need to progress. We need to get the word out there. We need to get corporate investment in it. It in some level. It doesn't have to be a grassroots, but it does need to be a pro, which means trickle down for everybody else. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you again, guys, for watching everything Pissnet Productions. Thank you for liking and subscribing if that's something you have done. Feel free to check out anything else we've done. I do have a shameless plug. I do have a video series going on right now with a 540i drift car that I'm building as cheap as I possibly can. And feel free to check out our coverage of any other events that we've done, whether it be grassroots, whether it be pro, whether it be pro spec, whether it be, actually I haven't done any pro spec because I've never been there to those. But feel free to check out any of that shit. And if you hate all of it, then get rid of it. But then don't. If you don't like it, don't like it. I don't care. But then once again, guys, thank you again for